anytime that you're cutting back benefits, you're cutting back costs to a degree where the employee is going to be feeling that stress, they're feeling that pressure that has a significant impact on that productivity and a big impact to the soft cost.
Yeah, but there are other aspects to it that might eventually lead to some struggles at work and at home for that employee, and there might be a need for a change.
Powered by NEI Global Relocation. This is Relocation Leader, the podcast where we help advanced professionals in the world of global mobility. Now, here's your host, Zac Turbes.
Welcome to another episode of Relocation Leader. I'm your host, Zac Turbes, and today we have Derek Gregath and Amy Smith with us. And I don't know about you, but I'm really excited for this podcast.
I'm so excited.
Always excited, always nice to see you, for sure,
Yes.
Zach.
So first of all, not many people, it's been a while since you've been on the podcast, Amy.
Yeah.
And Derek, I don't think we've ever had you on the
This is
podcast.
my first.
So-
I'm excited. Thanks. Where was my invitation before? That's actually what I wanted.
Ben?
Lost Lamel.
All right. So why don't you, for those people who don't know you, can't remember you.
Yeah.
Why don't you introduce yourself, kind of what you do here at NEI, and maybe even I'm going to have you introduce the topic.
Oh, I'm introducing. Okay, I can do that. So I have been with NEI for 22 years. I am the director of global mobility strategies, policy development, and document management.
I think you officially have like the longest title at NEI.
I do. So if anyone ever wants like an autograph, they're probably not going to get the title as well. So my team is tasked with pulling trends, gathering industry data. We're just kind of keeping an eye on the news and reporting back to our teams what's happening and kind of helping with that consulting strategy.
Nice.
My name's Derek Gregath. Been with NEI for 18 years. I've really done a little bit of everything here at NEI. So started as an assistant account executive, moved to an account executive helping the transferees relocate. Then moved into client relations, which I enjoyed for a long time. So helping set policy, answer any one-off questions that might come up, look for cost savings, things like that. But recently I moved into our client development team. So I'm director of global client development. And yeah, it's been great so far. So I appreciate you having me, Zach.
Yeah. For those who don't know, like Derek is like the pizzazz guy. Like when we do our conferences, they're like, we need there to be some energy. And so who should we get? They're like, we need Derek.
I would say a clown. They're like, whenever they're like, we need somebody to go up here and make some, tell some jokes. Let's get there.
Pizzazz guy, jester.
Yeah,
not too much.
It's all the same. But happy to do it. It's always fun.
All right. So first of all, I guess, Derek, you're new into your role, but you're not new to mobility at all. Amy, you got the most sophisticated, most important title that, I don't know. But, first of all, just kind of, what do you like about your jobs? And then introduce us to the topic.
Oh, I forgot to introduce the topic. I'm sorry. What I love about my job, so I'm a very analytical thinker. I'm a critical thinker. I love gathering all of the information, all of the data, all of the news, all of the everything, and just kind of muddling it around and figuring out what's behind everything.
Can confirm.
Yeah. If you know this, having working with you've known this. So our topic today, we're going to talk about trends and kind of what's going on in the industry.
And yeah, so in the client development role, and really, I'll just start back. Like I mentioned, I've done a little bit of everything at NEI. I think for me, it's always been just to flat help people, whether that's a relocating employee and their family, whether that's a client contact who might have questions. I really enjoyed the client contact aspect of it, or the policy counseling directly with our client contact. And really, for me, it was always watching them have success through something that maybe I helped with or took a part of. So either hearing that what we helped them set up worked, it was amazing. They found the cost savings, or that family moved successfully, and their management and leadership was very pleased with the end result. Kind of having that trickle down success, you could feel it. And just something I always love, helping someone else be successful. I think that's kind of what we do here at NEI.
One of the things, since joining the industry that has surprised me was just how much money has changed hands here. Like it is insane, like how much money just kind of passes from entity to entity
Yes.
just to perform this one very complex process. And, I imagine that like in a lot of other industries, sales might feel slimy, you know?
Mhm.
The sales in this environment really feels consultative, you know, because, people they come to you going like, I have these big needs,
Mhm.
and it's very complex. I don't know, there's lots of ways you can screw it up. Can you guys help me? And you stepped into client development, so you're gonna have lots of those experiences, but
Right.
like you've done it with clients for years,
Mhm.
helping find, what is the smartest way to spend their money because like anyone can just say, we want to have a cost effective program, and that means we're just going to cut it. Most cost effective program we have,
Yeah, yeah, and certainly, there's challenges that all of our clients face within their mobility program. That's our job to solve them, and it'd be nice to just throw an unlimited amount of dollars at it. Certainly, you could find solutions there, but it's just not practical. So, really, it's finding some of that creativity within the budget to help them out and be successful. I think that's really the focus for us these days.
Nice. And so Amy, said we're going to talk about some trends that you're
Mhm.
seeing and stuff.
Mhm.
Why don't you bring us into kind of like what's the major theme here?
The major theme is cost. So companies are looking to cut costs, cut costs, cut costs. Um, it's brought up frequently. It's discussed at length. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that a little bit.
Is that, just for my own knowledge, kinda like, has that been the case, for time and eternity now, or is like, does it ebb and flow,
It does ebb and flow. The information that we're getting now is that there is some economic uncertainty. There has been for a little while, a few years. There's been some economic uncertainty, and whenever that happens, companies are they get into that conservative mindset where they're thinking we need to preserve, we need to be careful with our spending, um, and I think that's where we're at right now.
Nice.
Yep. On the kind of policy front there, it's always interesting. You're looking for that sweet spot between employee experience and cost savings. It seems like um, certainly with cost savings, you can cut back too much and really reduce the employee experience. You don't want that. There's a duty of care aspect that's important as well. Your leadership wants that employee to relocate and relocate comfortably. So there is a fine line. You're really looking for that sweet spot within budget, cost savings, and the employee experience.
Mhm.
And you don't wanna take away the wrong thing,
Right.
because then that could have its own cost implications down, further into the future.
Mhm. I think the mobility industry is, it's one of those things in a lot of industries you can determine a very, very clear ROI, and it's difficult in mobility. There's there's the hard costs, but then there are so many soft savings. There are so many soft costs that you're going to deal with. And the challenge, to Derek's point, is that the ultimate goal of a relocation program is to get the employee to the new location and make them productive as soon as possible. And so, anytime that you're cutting back benefits, you're cutting back costs to a degree where the employee is going to be feeling that stress, they're feeling that pressure, they're not able to fully financially cover the cost of the move on their own, or even supplement the cost of the move on their own. That has a significant impact on that productivity and a big impact to the soft cost.
Yep, and getting there efficiently, I think, is just step one.
Mhm.
They've started work, but there's another aspect to it. Like I call it kind of the honeymoon phase. So you've got the employee who does relocate, but they end up in a setting or an environment that I think is very comfortable for them. They're in an office, they've got colleagues, they've got coworkers, they're interacting daily. But there are other aspects to it. The maybe trailing family who's also relocated with. And although that employee may have started off the new position well, it doesn't mean that there might be difficulties within the family that might eventually lead to some struggles at work and at home for that employee, and there might be the need for a change. So really two steps: getting them there efficiently, and then making sure everybody's settled in.
Mhm.
That certainly delivers maybe that return on investment value that you're looking for. So two steps.
Mhm.
Just for my own knowledge, what sort of nuances exist that would make one company go one direction in accomplishing that same goal and another company go an entirely different direction?
Well, I think we see that. I mean, we have a perfect example. Pharmaceutical companies are generally and historically extremely generous in their relocation programs. Whereas what we see in maybe more tech companies is kind of lump sums, kind of, you're either on your own. There are a lot of remote positions, of course. Um, with a pharmaceutical, I'm going to use them as the example here because you have very, very specialized employees. You have to have that critical work, and they have to go to these different plants, these different facilities. Um, and it is so specialized, you can't just go, put a post on LinkedIn and say, I'm looking for a pharmaceutical chemical person. whatever
Perfect.
that
That's wonderful.
whatever
Yep.
that position title is. Um, so I think, to your point, depending on the industry, depending on the position, you'll have a different nuance to the program.
Yeah. Yeah. Company culture also.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think you look at the data, you dive into what the evaluation responses have been. You dive into reports, costs, things like that. But um, really, I think if you've got a good company culture, the employee is likely to remain. You maybe marry that up with the relocation benefits as well. Certainly a lot of different aspects to it.
Yeah. So like just taking kind of springboarding off what you said, if you know that you're in a very high paced, fast paced environment and there's a lot of stress and pressure, like maybe you want to sort of like supplement that with more generous relocation benefits where it's like if you know that people come here and they stay here for a long time, you're going to be a little bit more,
Turnover.
yeah,
Mhm.
conservative.
Mhm. Yeah, I think a company, not to name names, but a company like a Google or an Apple where people are fighting to get a job there, where they're desperate. I mean, that's kind of that's the golden standard of
Mm.
where they want to work. You maybe can be a little more laxed with what you offer because people want to be there no matter what, and they'll go there no matter what.
You act like it's like supply and demand or
I
something.
know, I know. What a concept.
Location matters. There's just a lot of
Yeah.
variables to it, but really have to dive into, turnover rates, evaluations,
Mhm.
spend, budget.
But even within those cultures too, like there could be like a very specialized position that you
Mhm.
you go the other way with, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
All right. So since I knew this was kind of where we were headed, I came up with a game that I
Okay.
want you guys to play. All right. So here's the game. You guys get $1 million each
Okay.
for your own relocation programs,
Okay.
and you get to decide where you're going to spend that. Okay. What we have here is people, process, or perks. Okay.
Okay.
So tell me how you're going to like divvy that up, show me what the balance is. And we're talking with process like technology, with people, you're like, more your staff and training and stuff like that. And then the perks, it's like you're putting that all into benefits.
Okay. So I have $1 million.
$1 million.
And how many employees am I moving with that $1 million?
Let's say you guys are both like let's say a mid-size tech company who's trying to grow.
As somebody who's moved and relocated a couple times, I'm really loading up on the benefits and the perks. I think getting the employee that new opportunity that they're excited about. You've made an offer to this employee and they've accepted it. They're excited about the new position, probably the new area that they're going to move into. I want to make this as seamless as a process as possible. Moving, difficult. They say, moving is, one of the most stressful things you can do right after podcasting or public speaking. So, just want to throw that out there. But yeah, I'm sinking at least half of it into the relocation perks. I want them and their family to get there, feel comfortable. A lot of times that's your first impression, right, of the new company. So if it's an outside employee, a new hire, you want them taken care of and to feel warm and welcome and that they can hit the ground running. So I would go there. Technology is important as well. We're a tech company as well, so I'd go 25% there. And I think the last one was people. I think the other pieces really affect the people too. So I think with the other dollars, we're accomplishing all. And I'm putting 25% into my pocket. I think I'm keeping 25% myself. So I can do that math. That's $250,000. So Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take Derek's $250,000. Just kidding. Um, I agree with everything Derek said, although I would also invest in an RMC. And I mean,
For
a
sure.
plug, of course, for NEI, but I'm going to invest in an RMC that has a strong analytical department that can wink,
Wonder
wink,
why.
that can look at. But in order to really take care of the people, you have to be able to analyze your program. You have to be able to see what's working. And you have to look beyond you have to be able to look beyond simple benchmarking and kind of look holistically, big picture. So that's where I'd put some money.
All right. So you guys are both, operating your programs, right?
Yeah.
And your CFO comes to you and says, I need you to start making cuts.
Mm.
Um, what's one thing that you definitely wouldn't cut no matter what?
Well, I wouldn't cut the RMC or Derek. I wouldn't cut Derek.
You see, everybody needs a clown. That's good. Why I'm here.
Derek's like, I'm not cutting what I took from the pot.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's a good question, and certainly, again, a fine line between cutting too much and having the employee experience be what you want it. So I think a lot of the duty of care benefits are ones that remain. It's like your household goods move, I think, is important for just safety, liability concerns. You want them to be healthy and show up, show up in one piece, I would say. But you can really start to build kind of a core group of benefits that are just critical. You can't eliminate these. And then there might be some fringe benefits that you can look at and really try to determine critically if that's something where we might be able to save costs. And it might not be cutting the benefit out completely. It might be just reducing it by an amount that works for the cost savings directive. But I think through analytics and the reporting that we have, there's opportunities to have deep dives into things and find some cost savings.
Is there any time, maybe Derek, I'm not sure who is best to answer this question, but when you guys are consulting with clients, and they're saying we need to cut costs, right? And they want to always sort of take it out of benefits, right? But, is that always the right decision? Because, I'm just sort of brainstorming in my head here, like if they have a process that's inefficient and that's leading to overruns, right? Um, and they can keep all their benefits if they just fix that process, you know, uh, wouldn't that be a better thing to do? And then, sort of how do you go about identifying where your bottlenecks are and stuff like that? Or do you have another perspective?
Pardon me.
Oh, that's okay. Well, as far as process goes, mm, I'm struggling with thinking of a single process that would make up the cost of benefits necessarily. Of course, anytime that you're looking at like a core flex program, that's a great opportunity to save some of that the exception piece, right? So you're dealing with less exceptions. You have a little bit more flexibility for the employee. But I'm going to go a little different direction here. I think one of the big ways, I think of home sale is a big piece that's kind of sitting in my craw right now. Companies have been cutting home sale for a while. For a few years, they've been cutting home sale, and it's been okay because we've been in such a seller's market. It's been okay. And sellers are they've been making a lot of money on their houses. They've got these great interest rates. So the need for the home sale program hasn't been as strong as it was in the past. But now things are changing. The market is turning a little bit. Those interest rates are up a little bit. So when we look at, for example, we look at a benchmark and we see not as many companies offer home sale, some companies might automatically think, oh, well, then I should cut my home sale program. But when we look at this holistically and we see the market is starting to maybe turn a little bit, homes are sitting on the market longer. I just got an article from a lender the other day that said the biggest challenge right now is that people are listing their homes with the expectations of getting the prices that they were able to get 8 months ago or a year ago. And that's not the reality today. So these homes sit on the market for a very, very long time, which again adds to the stress for the employee. It adds to extended temporary living costs. It adds to extended other costs with the home sitting, for so long. So if we add in that home sale benefit, it is a little bit of a cost up front, but it reduces all those other costs down the line. So that's why I think the analytical side of it, where you need to look at every piece of it. Um, yes, this will cost you here, but it will save you here. I think those are the pieces that really need to be focused upon.
That's why you ask the experts, man, because I was thinking like temp living, like, is there
Yeah.
something that is leading to, these temp living charges? Because that can get really expensive,
It
you
is.
know. If you can just reduce that by something else that you could do, like it's a win-win for everyone. And you're
Right.
like, yeah, let me flush that out for you.
Right. And
Yeah.
and oh, temp living is so that's another one that sits in my craw.
Yeah.
So temp living costs are very expensive. So say you want to reduce your temp living budget. So are you going to give fewer days in temp living? Are you going to force them to move faster? Are you going to put them in a lower grade temp living that's going to put them in an unsafe area
Mhm.
and put your employees at risk? There are certain things I just don't think that you can cut those costs. I
Yeah.
just think should be non-negotiables.
Mhm.
And I always think, just a flat directive to save costs doesn't necessarily mean you have to reduce benefits. I think
Mhm.
there are other ways that we can be creative to understand maybe what the client is going through on their end that maybe we don't have visibility to currently, and kind of ask those questions to say, maybe it makes sense to help you with this process. We've got the capability. Here's an example. Just recently, I'm kind of going through a deep dive on some things with a client, and they were spending a lot of their time working through immigration matters, writing letters of agreement, letters of assignment for different employees. Um, really, time can be money, right? Time is money. So we really just kind of took those processes and brought them to NEI. And what we were able to do is just elevate them onto other things. And you never want to take somebody's job or anything like that internally at the client company, but a lot of times what it does is just elevates them onto other things. They've got a full plate of things, and um, NEI is able to have some of that admin work brought to us, and it helps them save time and eventually money through just a process type aspect. I think we do a really good job, especially through implementation, of asking those questions. So when we know their goals when maybe we're out through an RFP. We relay that to the client relations manager, who's then going through implementation. They're asking questions, maybe asking questions 4 and 5 levels deep to really get at the root cause, and then providing solutions there. And it just always doesn't have to be a reduction in benefits. We can find efficiencies in process that save time and money too.
Yeah.
He had longer to think about his answer.
Hey, yeah, I liked both of you guys' answers.
Uh,
I mean, and two, like when you think about it, like probably the most expensive thing is when the person decides to leave the
Mhm.
company, because
That
especially depending on the position, I mean, you could be out millions of dollars based on lost opportunity costs. And, there's a ton of other soft costs that just start racking up. So, that's when people leave, it's not always the RMC's fault. A lot of the times it could be a manager or whatever, but you never want it to be the relocation's fault, right?
Mhm.
Because the relocation fell through and that happens.
It
You know?
does.
Yeah, a lot of fringe benefits like destination services or cultural training or language training that I think become super critical to the family settling in and enjoying their experience at the destination or in the host country. Those are usually the ones that are first to go.
Mhm.
But I think that they're still just as important as the household goods move or temp living or the housing benefit. They really just any way you can help the family and the employee acclimate to destination, I think is critical for the ROI and the employee retention.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So, often people come to us and they're asking things like, "Well, what are other companies doing?"
Mhm.
You know, and is that the question they should be asking? Sometimes not.
I think, you know, when they ask what are other companies doing, I think that's kind of a normal springboard into the conversation. I think when you're looking at it from a consultative lens, the question then becomes why. I always joke that in our department we're like toddlers because we ask why. And I think this is the perfect example. Why do you want to know that? What is the goal? What are you trying to get to? Um, because I think ultimately, you don't really want to do what other companies are doing. You want to take it to the next level. You want to take it beyond that. Like we were talking about the home sale. uh, Companies are cutting their home sale programs. Does that mean that you should, though? Probably not. Companies are cutting back on temp living and maybe putting their employees in a lower grade temp living facility. Should you do that? No. So measuring against what other companies are doing is not always the best practice. Um, I think, again, we need to look at programs holistically. We need to look at the goals. We need to look at the drivers. We need to look at evaluations, like Derek mentioned earlier. What's the feedback that we're getting from employees? Um, and kind of figure out what's going to make the most sense with the budget that they have and the goals that they have.
Because I guess when somebody approaches you and asks that question, they're sort of assuming that everyone else is going, they have a reason for why.
Yeah.
But if they're just looking at the rest of everyone else, it becomes viciously circular.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And you know, what's everybody else doing? Boring, like how do we make like, here's what they're doing, but like
Yeah.
here's some other things that let's make this your policy. Let's make this uniquely yours. Let's look at options that maybe one or two companies might be offering this benefit and it works well for them based off what you've told me. Let's take a serious look at adding something like this. And it might not be what everybody else is doing, but it's an idea. It might be something that works well for your company.
Mhm.
So I think you can get into this box of let's do it like everybody else does it, but that's not what make companies companies. They're unique, and that should trickle down to the relocation policies. They should be uniquely yours as well.
Mhm.
That's not to like discount benchmarking, but it's
No,
to say
absolutely
like,
not.
hey, this is a starting point.
In
But you
addition
really
to,
have to think through
Mhm.
yeah,
why you're doing it.
yes.
I feel like
Yes.
Amy's favorite book is like Start with Why by Simon Sinek.
That and Atomic Habits. I love Atomic Habits too. I think benchmarking is obviously I love benchmarking. I'm all about the benchmarking, but I look at it very differently. I don't look at it as, okay, this is what everyone is doing. I look at it more as kind of the roadmap for, okay, everyone is doing this. Why are they doing that?
Mhm.
How are they heading in that direction? Where could we help maybe guide them a different way if it makes more sense for their teams? Um, so for me, benchmarking gives me more a sense of kind of the overall state of the industry versus specific policy benefits.
Yeah. So you ask Amy for a benchmark, you'll get it, but be prepared for a couple
Yeah.
hundred questions on top of that
That's
as well. I think is the
Yeah,
takeaway,
it
which is
is.
awesome.
Usually why.
Yeah.
It's for your own good.
It's for your own good.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man. Okay. So, um, what would you say? So what signals would sort of indicate, like a shift in your mind from maybe like cost cutting or cost containment, avoidance, what do you want to call it, and investing, strategic investing in your program?
Mm. So I think we've already talked to that to some degree. So cost avoidance might be if we're talking about benefits, it could be simply cutting benefits. Whereas you're talking about investing, that's when you're thinking about companies are your mobility teams are working closely with the talent development teams. They're working with their HR teams. They're looking at this from a talent perspective versus a relocation program perspective.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's when you go more towards the investment side. And I think even if our mobility teams, I say our mobility teams, I mean a company's mobility team, even if they are insulated and they are a separate department, I think strategically it makes sense to partner with all of these other departments. Talk with your HR teams, your talent teams, your total rewards team, your finance, and look at it from the big picture.
Mhm.
I think, cost containment, cost cutting's more just a budget thing to me. And you may have an opportunity somewhere that you need relocation policies and benefits for to take advantage of what's in that location, the people that are there, the products that are there, things like that. Um, the investment comes in finding something that's right size, maybe for that specific move or maybe for the company overall. But you know, again, I think there's always an opportunity to spend a little to find the value in something. as well. So I think it's, as Amy said, talking internally, understanding what the objectives are, and then trying to right size a program. So that's still an investment, but you're also maybe containing cost as well.
Nice. One of the things that like makes me think, or you guys made me think of it in terms of like everything's an investment. There's just good investments and bad investments,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
even if it's just time.
Yes.
All right. So I got a fun game.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
This
So,
game's kind of
I
scary.
hope it ends with money in my pocket.
all right.
Yeah.
It's just questions, and I'll give you, hopefully, you guys have seen all these movies or at least know about them. But, you know, I, I wanted to start us off with this question. Okay. So, which movie best represents money you didn't lose, but no one noticed? So, The Matrix, because you dodged bullets, no one else saw. Minority Report, pre-decision counseling meets pre-crime, or Final Destination, for when failure was narrowly avoided, but no one clapped.
Well, I can't say Final Destination because I mean it does eventually come
Well,
full
here's
circle.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween
It's
season.
called Final
It is spooky season out there. Yeah. No, I think it might go with Minority Report. Just the amount of proactive work that goes into a mobility plan, a relocation, moving a family from A to B. It's our responsibility to handle these moves for our corporate clients. There are a lot of moving parts. Some things don't always align the way we would want them to, but we've been proactive. So when there is something to react to, we can move forward accordingly as well.
So I would say Moneyball. Do you like Moneyball? Have
I
you seen
could
it?
have guessed.
You could have guessed. I know. It is the best movie. I always wanted to be Jonah Hill. Well, not Jonah Hill, but Jonah Hill's character. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
He's in that one in real
Yeah.
life.
He is. But in that movie, just chef's kiss. So I think about Moneyball because you've got because you have this little tiny budget, right? And we're talking about cost containment. You got this little tiny budget, and they went out of their way to figure out how can we stretch this budget? How can we do what no one has done before to make this winning team? And that's exactly what we do all day, every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Amy wins.
What about Major League? No, start throwing out baseball movies too, Zach. Is that what we need to do here?
That's how you butter him
All
up.
right, I get it. All
I think
right.
that's
I'm new here.
That's
I'm new
a
here.
different industry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. So which movie screams, look, we save money, and it's right there on the invoice? Ocean's 11, the most glamorous ROI ever measured. Moneyball.
Oh no.
Analytics-based cost cutting, and that actually works, or extreme couponing. The motion picture.
And what was the question?
Yeah.
Which movie screams, look, we save money, and it's right there on the invoice?
I'll go with the extreme coupon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same. I think we work with only the best, and we get those invoices. I think through implementation, we've already said we're going to work with only the best service partners, and we're going to have value there. And it's almost like a coupon, extreme coupon. Is that a show? Is that a movie?
It's a show.
Like, what are we talking? How extreme is this
It's
coupon?
so extreme.
My mom used to
People-
carry one of those boxes with like all the, and
It's
they were
obsessive
squirted.
compulsive
It
extreme.
is, it is extreme. So they'll have a room like this that's just
Okay.
like all toothpaste.
No,
They had bought they're like, I got it on a coupon, like
bad breath
85
situation.
8,500 tubes of toothpaste.
Yeah.
So
We don't have closets full of toothpaste, in case anyone's wondering.
behind on that side of the podcast room, it's just all toothpaste.
It's just batteries on that side.
That's right.
All right. So last one. Which movie captures shaving hours off process or turning chaos into order the best? Fast and the Furious, because the approval workflow now runs on nitrous. Edge of Tomorrow, automate, repeat, improve. By the way, that's a totally underrated movie.
I've not
I've
seen
not
it.
seen
I've
that
seen
movie.
parts of it.
Yeah. Home Alone, one kid automating his entire house to handle risk.
Mm.
I think it's got to be Fast and Furious.
I think it has to be Fast and Furious.
So a lot of moving parts, like I said, and it can seem chaotic, but really not, again, with the processes we have in place, and able to move efficiently. And that's the nitrous. Everybody loves a little nitrous, right?
Compliance is going to talk to Derek later.
Yeah.
I was going to say, but also if you're not compliant,
Yeah.
then you could have a big crash.
Yeah.
That would be dangerous.
By the way, I've got a rental car outside. If you guys are going to take a stand later, just let me know. So
We don't break any laws either.
that's right. No, we don't. No, we don't.
All right. Well, guys, I thoroughly enjoyed this podcast. Thank you guys
Same.
for coming on. And, when this airs, GPA will be done. So,
Oh, good.
right. That was great. Yeah.
Awesome.
A lot of hard work. Yeah, it goes into it. You should be commended for it, for sure. For sure.
All right. That was another episode of Relocation Leader. Why don't you join us back next time, where we'll have more engaging and fun conversations.
This has been Relocation Leader, a podcast where we help advanced professionals in the world of global mobility. Listen back here every 2 weeks for a new episode on NEIReload.com or on your favorite podcast platform. We'll see you next time.